So recently we found out that Eternitus is coming to Pokemon Go through the Pokemon Go Fest Max Finale event, and data miners actually figured out how much candy it's going to cost to power up this Pokemon, and my goodness, when I saw these numbers, I was absolutely shocked, and I really want to talk about it in this video. Alright, what's happening everyone? Count Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So recently I was on the Sylph Road subreddit, and of course there's a lot of posts going on about the Pokemon Eternitus. It's going to be a legendary Pokemon that is going to be coming to Pokemon Go really soon, and it's going to be directly tied specifically to Dynamax Battles. This is going to be one of those legendaries that you will only be able to get through Dynamax content. And I really feel like a lot of players might be excited about that, but there's certainly going to be a lot of other players who are just a little disappointed because they simply do not care about Dynamax content. But fortunately, you will be able to get an Eternitus through the Go Pass. It's going to be completely free to pretty much every single player. That is something that I already talked about in a previous video. But today I want to talk about the candy cost for powering up an Eternitus, because Niantic is doing something very specific here to get you to actually participate in those giant Dynamax, whatever it is called, like the Eternimax battles that we're going to be having during the Max Finale event. So what is the big deal regarding the candy cost? Well, like I said, I was perusing the Sylph Road Reddit and I came across a post that actually gave me a bit of pause, because the amount of candy that is supposedly going to be required in order to fully max out an Eternitus from level 20 is in the thousands. It's going to be way more, even 10 times or even 20, 30, 40 times more than you typically would need to power up a legendary. I mean, I think the numbers came out to about 8,000 regular candies and about 4,000 XL candies. Yeah, that sounds ridiculous, right? Like, imagine if you got yourself, let's say, a Rayquaza and you wanted to power it up and you needed thousands of candies rather than hundreds of candies. Yeah, that would totally ruin your day. It would make you feel like it's going to be impossible for you to actually power up that Pokemon. And it looks like that's specifically what they're doing for Eternitus. Now, the reason why I suspect they're doing that is because, like they specifically said, you're going to be able to get hundreds of candy from doing those Dynamax battles. I think that is the specific reason why they inflated the cost to power up an Eternitus so drastically high. It's because they want you to actually participate in these battles. I'm sure they're fully aware that a lot of players may not necessarily be as interested in Dynamax content, and they might be aware that some players might skip out on this Max Finale event because it's pretty much 100% Dynamax content. So one of the things that they're probably trying to do to get players to actually go out and play during that event is these insane numbers for powering up an Eternitus, because everyone's going to be getting this Pokemon. It's going to be available through the Go Pass, like I said, so I think a lot of players will be interested in just powering it up. Maybe they do not care about using it within Dynamax battles. Maybe it's going to be one of those Pokemon that you could potentially use in the Master League or in raid battles as well. So they want to power it up specifically for that content. But because Niantic has set the power-up costs so astronomically high, now it seems like you have to participate with the Max Finale event, otherwise you're never going to get enough candy. There's no amount of walking that's humanly possible for you to collect the candy with it as your buddy. There's not going to be, I mean, if you're sitting on 8,000 rare candies, like, all power to you, but I highly doubt that there's going to be many players out there who are going to have even 1,000 rare candies in their inventory. I don't even think you can hold up to 8,000 items. Like, that's pretty insane. So yeah, I think this is going to be the only way you can get enough candies to power up this Pokemon. Again, you need close to about 8,000 regular candies, as well as, I believe, 4,000 Candy XL, just to power it up from level 20 all the way to the max level. If you ever wanted to get that candy from means outside of Dynamax content, it's probably going to be impossible. I'm assuming there's going to be some hardcore player out there who is going to pull it off with just rare candies alone, and they're going to brag about it on social media, but I predict we're not going to hear anything about that for maybe a couple of years. So I think the best way for you to farm up enough candy is, of course, going to be through that Go Finale event, Go Fest Max Finale event. That's probably going to be where all the candy is going to be obtained. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is in regards to whether or not this is actually good. Like, is Niantic just playing into the FOMO mechanics? I think for a lot of players, they want a little bit more agency when it comes to this game. They want to have multiple different means to get the end result. I totally understand that. For some people that I know, they do a whole bunch of raids to get enough candy to power up a specific Pokemon, or they'll just set it as their buddy and then they'll just slowly grind it out over time. There are certainly players who do that. When it comes to Eternitus, it seems like there's only going to be one method. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. I do recognize that Eternitus is kind of a special Pokemon for a very specific niche of Pokemon Go. It's essentially supposed to be like the end boss for specifically Dynamax content, so it totally makes sense that they would make it so you could only power it up through Dynamax content. But I'm still a little bit worried that there's going to be players out there who are just going to collect their Eternitus and then just leave it in their inventory. They do not care to power it up. They just want the Pokedex entry, and then they're not going to participate with the Go Fest Max Finale event. I think there's got to be some more incentives. Maybe they could have it so that there's certain things that you need in order to power up an Eternitus, and you can only get that from doing Dynamax Battles, maybe, like a separate resource. I don't know. Maybe you need max particles along with candy and Stardust in order to power it up. Rather than having a ridiculous Stardust cost, I think something like that could work a lot better. That's just my own personal opinion. So that way, you don't even have to do just specifically Eternatus battles. Maybe you could just do the regular Dynamax and Gigantamax battles. And then when you do that, you'll collect the special resource to power it up. So that's the way I would have approached it from a design perspective. I feel like just simply inflating the candy cost and hoping players will actually participate in these special battles in order to get enough candy is, I don't know, that just feels kind of contrived. It doesn't necessarily feel intuitive. I think another thing you also have to consider is that if you do plan to use Eternitus for, let's say, max battles, you need to power up those max moves as well. And max moves do cost a lot of candy, and yes, they also inflated the cost of candy for those moves. So you will need to do a ton of these battles if you want to get yourself a fully battle-ready Eternitus. And yeah, this is something that I just wanted the Pokemon Go community to be aware of, because I do think there's a lot of players out there who are just gonna collect their Eternitus from the Go Pass and then not necessarily go all out for the Max Finale event, and I think that could be a huge mistake. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. What are your thoughts regarding this crazy inflated candy cost? Do you feel like this is Niantic doing something very specific for Eternitus, or do you feel like this is just absolutely crazy and they shouldn't have done this? I really would like to know what the community is thinking, because like I said, this is the first time they've ever done this. This is the first time we've ever seen a legendary with this insanely high of a candy cost to power up, and I'm really curious to know what the Pokemon Go community thinks about that. But yeah, definitely share your thoughts in the comments below and let's have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget the notification bell as well so that you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Content channel, the absolute best way to do that is going to be by joining my Patreon. And if you decide to become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list. That means for stuff like remote raids, the friendship system, opening and sending gifts, different things like that. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me personally, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you could do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms you see on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow, and you'll have access to some exclusive content, and you'll also be able to find out my daily thoughts. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself today, and I'll catch you all later.